Hi guys, how are you all doing? It's good to see you again. So today we will be talking about a very symbolic topic. So I've decided to call it trash that glitters, glorified poisons. So like I said, it's very symbolic, but it's also very significant because we are going to dive into um, how so many things look very harmless and shiny, even very beautiful on the surface, but actually it's just a whole can of worms on the inside. And we're talking music, media, TV, entertainment, and all these things that we like to call fun. Yeah. So, first off, let's go into the idea of fun. So, when we think fun, most of us think the music that we listen to, that music that we just like, that we just jam to, we just vibe to, and all that. And then we also think movies that we love. Some people are anime lovers, some people are K drama lovers, C drama lovers, depending on what you watch. And some people just they like crime scenes and action and reading some type of books, and just all these things are our idea of fun, right? So let's go into what exactly is the origin of these types of fun that are detrimental and not beneficial to us, but looks very shiny on the surface and just feels so good and addictive. So, fine, there are types of fun, but there are some types of fun that is very detrimental and that isn't beneficial to us. Let's go into First John 2, verse 16. It says, "For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world." We all know if we're Bible students, but if you're not, it's fine too. After what happened in the Garden of Eden and the fall of man, it really set some things in motion that were not supposed to be. So a whole civilization was built out of the will of God. So this civilization was a representation of rebellion to the Lord Almighty. So it was built on, because Satan started also making his own moves, moving through people to build things, to make a civilization that opposes everything that has to do with God and his principles and his promises and his word and everything, and all that he wants for us is love. So this civilization is what you and I know today as the world, as culture to some extent. We don't think much of it because we're like, yeah, but it's not that deep. Except that it's that deep though. It's that deep actually. Let's talk about cultural conditioning and generational ignorance. So all these things I've been saying, how do they work? Where do they come from? How did the infiltration happen? Nothing else, and we're just clueless. We're like, yeah, but that's how life is, though. That's all there is to life, though. You only live once, and all those ridiculous things that people say. But yeah. So let's go to Psalms 82, verse 5, and we'll talk about cultural conditioning and generational ignorance. It says, "They do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are unstable." The Bible also says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. They are my people. God is saying, you all are my people. But I'm not the reason why you perish, because a lot of people like to blame God for their problems. But I'm not the reason. You perish for your own lack of knowledge. Now, what are the types of knowledge that you should have? So, one of them is about this cultural conditioning and generational ignorance. So, good example would be if, as the years go by, centuries go by, and time again, you always see in music videos and you see in movies that being half naked is the norm, indecent dressing is the norm. Of course, growing up, from the moment you are a child until you become an adult, you think that's the norm too, because you don't know better and you don't know otherwise. You don't understand that there's a superior way, but this is what you've grown into, so you think it's normal. Something like that is called cultural conditioning. You have been conditioned by entertainment, by TV, by media, by movies, by music videos, that being indecent, being half naked, not respecting or having any dignity about any part of your body, especially the private parts, is normal. So, of course, you would want to like dress like that. You want to dress indecent. It's not a big deal to you. So, if one person is like, no, you should not dress like that, you'd be like, oh, please, holier than thou. It's okay. Don't talk to me. There's nothing wrong with me showing my body. I do whatever I want with my body. This is my body, my choice. Yeah. But actually, it is not, that is not true. That is not your body, your choice. Because you have been deceived. You have been deceived. And I'm not saying it's your fault. That's the thing. It's not even your fault. It's something that has been conditioned from eons ago, before you were even born into this planet. So that cultural conditioning makes you believe that it's normal to be naked. It's normal to not cover up. A very good example, actually. So for me personally, before I gave my life to Christ, I used to listen to Chris Brown, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, and the likes. Yeah, all of that. I'm not very proud of it, but that time I used to, when I was still in the world. So I just found out that it was so easy for me to swear and to just curse, like to use the, the F word and the S word. Yeah. So it became just so easy for me to do that, because they use this type of vulgar language and vulgar words and just dirty speech in the songs that I was listening to constantly, that I was constantly jamming to. So I also noticed that everyone around me, I had a friend group at the time, and all of us in our friend group, yeah, I was the only one. Okay, this is funny. I was the only one who didn't know how to twerk. Yeah, I thank God that I never knew how to. Praise God. But that time, almost everyone else knew how to do that. And I remember putting so much pressure on myself, and I'm like, no, I need to be able to do what my friends are doing. Why can't I also, twerk and all that? Now it sounds weird, but back then apparently it made sense to me. Yeah. So it just goes to show that, like, when you take in these types of like media, you take in these types of trash that glitters, you don't know what you're inviting into your spirit. You don't know what you're inviting into your soul. You don't know how you're contaminating your own self, defiling your own self, bringing in spiritual pollutions through your flesh, through what your flesh wants and what it enjoys and all that stuff. And it really messed up my thinking, that I thought that I had to know how to twerk. Why? I mean, for the love of God, just why would I want to learn how to do that, and who am I doing it for? So, but thank God now that that mindset is long gone. But that time, that was what I thought, because there's a programming in this media, in TV, in entertainment, in music. There's a programming that makes you think that, oh yeah, this is normal. And because of years of generational ignorance, I mean, on the part of people that are, okay, they're putting this media out there for you. But the generational ignorance part is that from generation to generation to generation, until it gets to your generation, you still haven't figured out that they're deceiving you. So that generational ignorance is the loop that the enemy keeps people in, to continue the cultural conditioning, to make sure that it it sustains itself. Now, why is all of this bad? The reason why all of this is bad is because this spiritual contamination or pollution or defilement I'm talking about, when these things start to contaminate your soul little by little, it sets off a chain reaction that you can't see because it's invisible to your eyes, because it's happening in your mind, in your soul. So if there's a lot of men, for example, that they're not faithful, not just to their wives, but they are just not faithful. They cheat and they do whatever they want. And that's because either they want to admit it or not, there is something that has changed the way they think. It could be music that they've listened to over the years. It could be the type of movies that they've watched over the years. It could be a lot of people talk about like how God saved them from pornography addiction. It could even be erotic novels for ladies. For ladies, it could be erotic novels. It could be reading novels about alpha male, werewolf, vampire, something, something. Basically, reading pornography, except that it's in a novel form, and you think there are short stories that you can just enjoy and just read if you're a book lover, right? But all these things, they set off a chain reaction. They reprogram your mind. So a man, for example, starts to think that it's okay to objectify, to sexually objectify women. He cannot see them more than that sexual objectification. He cannot see a woman more than her body or her shape anymore. He cannot see a woman for who she truly is, who God has created her to be, her purpose. He can only see what he can bed and what he can sleep with, right? And then for the ladies, they might become promiscuous also. They might think it's totally normal to be sexually impure, to be immoral, because it has been programmed into their minds. And this type of women that read books like that, or ladies or teenagers that are female that read books like this, they could get into relationships that don't make sense, like even an abusive relationship, because they've read some erotic novel somewhere that says that it's hot when he slaps you, or he does his sadist and masochism and all those things. Lord have mercy. So there's a chain reaction. All of this is bad. You need to understand that, right? So it can mess up homes, it can mess up families, it can mess relationships up, literally, right? Some ideas of fun, like going to parties that normalize just drunkenness and being irresponsible and doing things that don't even make sense, things that you can't remember because you're drunk. This contamination builds up to change you from being who God has called you to be, to being a counterfeit version of yourself, a version that you yourself don't even like, or you don't even recognize, or you just don't, you just hate. So in conclusion, I would say every decision you make matters. Your decisions, they can mar you or they can make you. And it's also important to ask yourself on a daily basis, when it comes to fun, what impact does this idea of fun have on my life, my future, others around me? So is it a negative impact or a positive impact? You have to weigh both options. Ask yourself too, are you still in control, or has that fun or that entertainment that you are allowing yourself, you are giving yourself to, has it taken over you? Has it been fueled by another spirit to take over you? Because it gets to a point where it becomes an addiction and you see that you can't stop anymore, or you obsess over things that you should not obsess about. Now ask yourself, like, what purpose does reading an erotic novel serve you? What purpose does watching movies where people are doing absolute nonsense and rubbish. What purpose does watching a movie where disrespecting parents, disrespecting adults, talking anyhow is celebrated? What purpose exactly does it serve you? What purpose does it serve in moving your life forward? What purpose does it serve? Look inwards. Look inwards. I want us all to look inwards. What has been tainted? What has been reprogrammed? If you look inwards long enough, I'm sure that you'll find something. And lastly, don't say it's not that deep. It's actually that. So I just pray that the Holy Spirit will convict us, expose every lie. It will bring light into every darkness. It will deliver, it will rescue, it will speak peace into every disruption in Jesus' mighty name. So let me just know down in the comment section below, do you have a testimony? Please share it with me. I'd love us to just engage. Or is there anything that maybe I did not mention that you also think that is an idea of fun nowadays that actually is just trash that glitters and it's just a glorified poison? So just let me know down in the comment section, and if this has blessed you too, just let me know what part blessed you. Okay guys, I love you. Bye.